going, folks? My name's Nick, this is Otto, the garden cat, and this is the Tierra Permaculture vlog. Just reminded you guys, I'm doing fewer videos now because we're kind of in the hottest part of the season here in Puerto Rico. Sorry, I got distracted by the cat. We're in the middle of basically the hottest part of the season here in Puerto Rico, and we're also in the middle of hurricane season. So it's not the best time to start new projects, new plantings, etc. So I'm not doing as many vlogs, so I'm just not out here working as much as I usually would be. So I just want to let you guys know that. It's not because I'm ignoring you or I'm giving up on this YouTube thing. It's just because right now it's just not the season for doing a lot of these projects out here. But I will keep producing videos, and anytime I'm doing something interesting, I am going to produce a video. So I just wanted to give you guys that up front. Today we're going to just check on the chickens, make sure everything's okay back here, and then we're going to do a quick thing about actually making multiple plants of comfrey from one plant of comfrey. So basically dividing the roots and then spraying those out a little bit. So we're gonna get started with that, and we'll see where we get to. It's the first time Otto's been out this morning, and he's enjoying being out here. He's probably gonna start licking the grass. He likes to lick the dew off of all the grass. I've noticed that makes him pretty happy, I guess. He chews on it, but he's also kind of taking all the dew on there. It's pretty funny. All right, so rain gauge. Got about just under 0.2 inches, so just under 5 mil there. And that was just last night. So we've been doing all right with rain, but it has been somewhat dry. So I've had to think about watering. I've had to water once or twice when it got really, really hot last week. But mostly everything is working out just fine. Plantains we harvested last week, they look like they're at this point going to be mushy and bad. So they're gonna go into the chickens, and the chickens will enjoy demolishing them over time, I'm sure. I will, I'm gonna open those up once I get everything else ready for them so they can actually reach into there and eat it. So that's a nice thing about having chickens around. They're just gonna take care of all that excess food that I can't process right now. So bear with me while I do all the chicken chores, and then we'll get to the comfrey cuttings. Or comfrey divisions, I should say. Henry. Here you go, bud. Here you go. Giving Henry his soaked feed, her soaked feed. This is actually just soaked underneath that top dry layer. It is soaked. I'm not lying to you guys. Do you see all this overgrowth? I have not done this yet. I've been pretty lazy, or not really lazy. I've just been really busy, honestly. Last week was probably the most I've worked since the beginning of this pandemic started. Online, it hasn't been like physical work, so it's been a little bit different than what I've been doing. But it has been you know, lots of time spent doing work, and on top of that I've had a couple other inquiries and everything about some work that I've been doing. So yeah, it's been good. It's been a great week, but it's just been, or this past week, it's been a great week. It's just been much more busy, and I'm still learning how to balance actual work, because since I've started this vlog, I've pretty much been I have been working, but it hasn't been work that's kind of constant or consistent. So it's been a couple days here and there, and then I can just keep going with the vlog. Since now I started this new thing, it's actually, you know, I'm back into it. So I'm trying to get all the balance of when I do things and figure out my scheduling to make sure I can actually get everything done. Keep producing these vlogs while I'm still doing other projects. There's the chickies, and mama and rooster. Open up some of these for them. There you go. You can see the roosters are already going at the plantains there. These guys are super ripe. We could probably still use these, but just barely, maybe today. And we also have so many other bananas right now, so I don't really feel too bad about bringing them in here for the chickens. Plus, they get a nice little boost there. Rooster's loving it. And once the chickies learn that it's actually food, I'm sure they're gonna love it too. But they have to see mama eat it first. So once mama eats it, like now, so now they might come over and check it out. The only problem is this mama over here, she's been really rude to them and really chasing them away from any food source recently, so. All right, so I'm just looking now at this upper bed, because I do need to clear this kind of soon. Otherwise, it's gonna just become so overgrown and rampant that I'm not gonna have any control over it. So that's the key here in the tropics. If you guys are living in a tropical tropical environment, the key is really just keeping control, because the overabundance of growth that's always happening in the tropics, it's just unreal. So the key is you got to try to keep control as long as possible, or else it's going to be a longer and more hard way to dig yourself out if you get kind of behind. So you can see here that I'm definitely getting behind, but I'm also noticing that, see, this is this pinto peanut, I think it's called. It's a type of peanut. It's not the one that actually makes peanuts for us to eat, but it's kind of makes these beautiful little yellow flowers. And that's starting to spread out more, and that's exactly what I want. I actually concentrated all around this little papaya here. It's not doing so well, but I concentrated the 4 small plants that I had right there, 4 small starts, and then it just starts spreading both ways and also down. So that's doing what I wanted to do. So that's really cool to see. Look at this katuk growing really nicely, coming on up. So the reason that I'm okay with it being a little overgrown is because up here I'm really going for shrubs. So I'm going for the katuk here. I'm going for these papayas, which are not liking it at all. So I probably will need to choose something different here. That's okay. It's about a learning process, you know. And there's some, I do have pineapple growing really well. There's a few of them along this edge here. This katuk up here is really doing well. You can see it's really starting to boom upwards. I have lots of nice leafy growth on the side there. So all those leaves are edible, and also their seed pods are edible. So that's pretty cool. Here's Otto enjoying the morning. Get him playing a little bit. He loves playing in the grass, especially for some reason when it's really wet out. He always loves to play in the wet grass, which is so contrary to most cats. So he's kind of an interesting subject. Forgive my pause there. Just need to get a little swig of coffee in me. All right, so let's take a look at this bed real quick. This bed's the one that I seeded arugula in, and it's all coming up quite nicely, actually. I'm pretty happy with it. You can see these guys are starting to form their true leaves, so they're doing really well. I actually had to water these like midday the other day because I had forgotten in the morning. So when I do that, if I'm gonna water midday in here, guys, it's important not to let your cat go through the garden, because that's not gonna help with the growth. It's not gonna help. You stay in the path, not the garden. And so it's important, if you're gonna water midday, to try not to hit the leaves. Try not to hit the leaves so much, especially on smaller, young little seedlings, because the leaves are gonna be pretty much shocked. If the sun hits them with that water on them, it's kind of like a small little tiny magnifying glass, a little drop of water, and then it can actually cause sunburn on the actual leaves themselves. So if you are going to water midday, if you have to make sure they stay alive, these guys are literally like slumping over, look like they're going to be completely dried out and dead by the time I was done if I didn't water them. So it was a choice I made. But when I do water like that in the middle of the day, what I do is I focus the water like on this big bulky mulch. I don't know, this is a garden. This is a garden. Okay, buddy? This is a garden up here. You can't go in there. No, that's a garden. It's a garden. That's not for you to walk in. No, that's not a garden, buddy. You see, now he's gonna fight me a little bit because he's mad at me. If I can just keep him concentrated down here instead of in the garden bed, maybe we'll be good. So when I water here, sorry for all the distraction, guys. When I water here, I actually water on, I point the nozzle right at here, really close to it. So all the water will hit this and then flow both ways. And that's gonna water the actual soil itself and not the plant itself. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm just gonna pull out a couple things I know are not the arugula, just because they're the local things that grow here all the time and I can tell. So that's the key when those little first seedlings are coming up. Make sure you just give them the head start versus the other little guys. You all know that if you do gardening at all. I assume you already know that, but I just like to repeat things just in case. All right, so here's the comfrey we're gonna work on. You can see it has grown up. Oh, that's a mix of comfrey. It has grown flowers. Here's the end of the flowers. So this is a sterile variety, so it's not actually gonna produce seeds. And that's good because comfrey can get a little out of hand really quickly if it does produce seeds. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just cut back this big stalk. So just this one right here, I'm just gonna cut that off. And all this right here is great mulch material. It's also fodder for chickens, and I believe we can actually eat the leaves too, but again, I have yet to really try that. So I'm just going to pull all these off and just going to be little spot mulches throughout here. Now we have the plant itself, just a plant. And I want to get down to the roots down here. So let's bring you a little closer. So I'm going to try to get the entire plant. So I'm going to go down on all sides and I'm going to kind of loosen up the soil as much as I can. And see how once I got down enough and I've lifted a few sides, it just kind of, you're able to pop it right up. So in this process, I have likely broken off some of the roots down there. You can see this little part broke off. I broke off a big piece right here. So all these bigger roots pieces that I broke off, they're gonna just grow and create a brand new plant for me. So I don't have to think about that. All right, so now here, so I probably could have let this one grow a little bit longer before I did this cutting, because you can see it does have a nice robust root system, but it's not huge, it's not super huge. But what you can do is find like the natural separation points. You can see this has like a nice little root growing up here, or a root down here, and some fleshy green growth growing up there. So I'm noticing that right there, that's a natural split. So I'm gonna just take my, in this case, my hori-hori, and I'm just going to kind of slice down, and there we go. So this probably was not the best cut at all, because you can see here I cut straight on the root there, and I didn't actually cut any of these roots with it, so that's my bad. But I'm guessing that this is still going to grow because these guys are pretty resilient. And then once these get a little bit bigger, you can see I'm going to snap one off now. These just kind of snap apart like that. You see how easy that was? It's just a really snap. These, again, these are pretty small, but when you get really big, thick, chunky ones, they can be like that thick, easily that thick. And every little tiny piece of these will grow you a new one. These will probably actually grow new plants too. So I'll just throw them in here. And I can probably divide this one more time even, but because I didn't get any roots here, I'm gonna choose not to. This is not a very good demonstration, sorry guys. But there are some roots coming down here. So I suspect Comfrey's a pretty hardy plant. So I suspect there won't be any major problems with that, despite me butchering the slice there. That's okay, it happens. And so I'm just going to put one back kind of where it was, right around here, and then another one right up here. So we're just going to have two little spots where we're going to have some Comfrey growing, hopefully. So this right here, this is a nice root piece. If I put that right there in the ground, that's probably going to grow me a new one. So I will put that into the ground. Put these right back down where we found them. It's pretty compacted over here. So these roots are really helping us get it a little less compacted. But I'm just gonna throw that down there. Make sure the roots are covered nicely. And then the other thing I'm gonna do is, because I just cut off a lot, anything that's kind of already dead and dying, I'm gonna cut off. And there we go. And then we'll do the other one that has not so much roots right up here. Again, I just loosen up the soil around it so the roots, when they do start growing, have a nice loose area. And I'm just going to shove it all right in the ground there. And then again, on this one I'm going to cut pretty severely. All right, so this one, since I took most of the roots by accident, I'm actually going to, I cut most of the leaves off of there, and I'm just going to leave them right there as a top mulch for it. Has some leaves still, so it can still produce. This one has two of its main leaves still. Again, that's just so it can keep producing its sugars, etc. So hopefully at this point, in a little bit, we'll have two plants there. And I still have this one root right here that broke off when I was working. So I'm going to shove that, and I'm going to put it right up here in the middle here. So if we end up getting a Comfrey plant right in the middle there, I know it's from this tiny little root right here. And I actually bet that this one will actually take, just because with the Comfrey I've planted before, I've noticed that it really can survive from very, very little. And there we have it. That's dividing the Comfrey. Here's Otto. You want to make sure that you have some little bit of root attached to each one of those leaf upright parts if you're going to actually split it. This one probably could have waited another few months before I actually split it. It's fairly new. It's been growing here I think for 4 or 5 months now. So I probably should have waited till maybe a full year until really doing this, so it has a nice really big robust root system. But when I pulled that out, it was probably about a good 5-6 inches deep where the roots cut off. So that already had put lots of deep tap roots down. That's what Comfrey does. It puts down nice deep tap roots, and it's called a dynamic accumulator, dynamic mineral accumulator, because it reaches really deep down with its deep tap roots and brings up all the minerals from further down the subsoils that are not necessarily available in the topsoil area. And so it brings all those nutrients up into the leaves, and then when you cut those leaves and leave them on your and use it as mulch, essentially, you're taking leaves that are full in these minerals that may not be in that topsoil, and you're putting them right at the top and right on the soil for the soil food web that's then taken, processed, and put into plant available forms. So really great plant to have, great all-around permaculture plant. Really great mulch plant. You can cut it multiple times throughout the growing season. I've already cut that thing probably like 5 or 6 times this year, and it's a fairly new plant. If you are going to do it, I would wait probably at least a good 6 to 8 months. But basically, once it starts flowering, it has enough of its root system established to kind of get going and be able to handle a little bit of disturbance. So what I did there is I waited till it flowered, and once it was done flowering, that's when I sit and did the root divisions, and now it's divided, and now everything can restart from zero, and we'll see how it goes. And I'll take you guys along that journey as it starts growing or as it dies back if I screwed it up. And it's okay if it ends up being I'm quite certain that it'll be just fine, at least that one with all those roots. That one gonna have zero problem at all continuing to live. The ones with a little bit not so good root system there, that weird slice that I didn't include any roots, that one was not so great. Sometimes it's easier to do it by hand. I try to do it with some sort of knife to make a nice clean cut so it heals nicely. But you know, you just kind of have to find what works for you. And we now have a Comfrey plant there, which will still probably produce more leaves from the roots that broke off. So whenever you divide Comfrey like that and you take those root cuttings and root divisions, typically you're going to break off some down the soil, and so those roots will be down there, and they usually will shoot up some new growth pretty quickly. So I suspect we'll see quite a bit of growth over there where that one is. That's right where I took it from originally and replaced. And then this one up here may or may not take because of that weird root cutting. And then one right over here underneath that leaf there, that was just a small piece of root. And so we'll see how that goes. Harvested the egg for today. So only got 1 egg because my mama with the chicks is not yet producing again. All right, that's it for me today, guys. Hope you enjoyed that little Comfrey root division that I kind of butchered, but that's okay. And I'm just checking in with the chickens. Hope you enjoyed. If you do like what I'm doing, please subscribe. It really helps me get more reach and have that motivation to keep going every time I see you guys adding another number up there. I think I'm up around 165 now, so that's really exciting for me, just a few months. And bear with me as I'm producing fewer videos over the next couple of months, just because it is peak hurricane season, and I now have an online job. It is somewhat contract based, so it's not going to be necessarily all the time. So I'm just trying to take all the opportunity I can while I have it. And there may or may not be some more exciting news for you guys coming up, but I have to kind of wait a little bit to confirm a few things and get things in order. So I'll let you guys know more about that soon. And until next time, have a good one.